for some peace of mind, but TikTok said a gator drove a Jeep through the blinds. Florida man's at it again with fireworks and a goat, and someone married a ghost in a Dollar Tree coat. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is going on? Aliens dancing in a Waffle House song. Karen's got a taser in the checkout line, and Dr. Oz just adopted birds to fight off crime. Oh, I'm just sitting here scrolling, my jaw on the floor. The internet's a circus and I can't take no more. Yeah, when it's wildin', there's a raccoon in the sink. Someone robbed a Wendy's just to steal a frosty drink. A pastor's gone viral yelling about the end is near, while folks ride hoverboards in wedding gear. Yeah, what in the Walmart rapture is this mess? Florida's a movie, but it's filmed in VHS. Someone fed meth to a squirrel named Dave, and now he's in a cage just throwing rave. I'm just...
Welcome. It is the 9th of September, and it is Tuesday, which means we have survived Monday. And I mean, honestly, we have a story about Charlie Sheen, so how could a Tuesday start better than a story about how Charlie Sheen has allegedly been celibate for nearly a decade? I mean, when you start the morning with Charlie Sheen, you start it with tiger's blood, am I right? Charlie Sheen says he's been celibate for nearly a decade and reveals the one drug he hasn't tried. Lithium? I'm throwing out lithium. Skittles. Charlie Sheen says he's just happy to be here to tell his own tale. The star's new memoir, The Book of Sheen, oh my God, dramatic reading coming soon, is full of shocking moments straight from his birth. I was born dead, he writes, strangled by the umbilical cord as he was being delivered and revived. At 15, he allegedly, learned of the nighttime arts with a Las Vegas hooker paid for with a credit card belonging to his dad, Martin Sheen. You know, it's an after-school special. I mean, who hasn't been there, done that? There are enough drugs in the book to bring down an elephant, leading to a near-fatal cocaine overdose in 1998 and 7 trips to rehab, not to mention his HIV diagnosis in 2011. But with 8 years of sobriety, he told Page Six, and celibacy, he is able to feel real gratitude in celebrating his 60th birthday last week, celebrated with a family lunch. So there you go. I mean, if you're having a bad time in your life, Charlie Sheen made it, and you can too, I guess, is all we can take from this story, really. A lot of this should be viewed as gravy, he said, of still being here. It's borrowed time or my 10th life because I think I get one more than all those cats. Absolutely, it's not lost on me that a story like mine is usually only told in memorial, if you know what I'm saying. Now, people around him are grateful, too, but also cautious. In a documentary, aka Charlie Sheen, that's premiering Wednesday on Netflix, his friend and former Two and a Half Men co-star John Cryer admits that he has trepidation about taking part in anything tangentially related to Charlie Sheen or Denise Richards, which honestly, like between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and then, you know, Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards, I don't know which one was the bigger train wreck. I don't really care, but there you go. Tuesdays, we start off with a little bit of tiger's blood and Charlie Sheen. And next, in a story that made Mo's heart grow 2 sizes bigger, out of spite and motivation to put away my wigs. Again, there is nothing about this photo that doesn't make my soul sing. I know that probably says deeply wrong things about me, but I really don't care at this moment. A juror is revealing why she convicted the matriarch in her ex-son-in-law's murder, leading to the killer's viral courtroom outburst. Now, calling family matriarch Donna Adelson, power hungry, the jury foreperson, opened up on TikTok about how the jury came to find Adelson guilty of murder in 2014, in the 2014 contract killing of her son-in-law. Now, you guys, I do plan after Chris Wolfenberger to at least look at the defense side, the opening statements and then the defense side of the Donna Adelson trial. I am not going to be watching the full thing. Unless I suddenly get like a super motivated hair up my behind. But because we've already seen the Charlie Adelson case, so unless there's something groundbreaking in new evidence beyond, I want to see Wendy on the stand. But I do plan on doing that, and I need to get motivated to find my Donna wig. That's like, my motivating factor for today. Jurors only needed 3 hours to convict Donna Adelson, the matriarch of a wealthy Florida family, of the murder of her former son-in-law, who was gunned down by hired hitman in 2014, the jury foreperson has revealed. Within the first hour and a half, everyone was agreeing that she was guilty. A woman who identified herself as the jury foreperson on her TikTok page said, "It was unanimous within the first hour and a half." On Thursday, September 4th, when Florida's Second Judicial Circuit Judge Stephen Everett announced that the jury had found Donna, 75, guilty of the first-degree murder in the murder-for-hire killing of Florida State University professor Dan Markell, she yelled out, "Oh God," and began sobbing and shaking in her seat. "Miss Adelson, control yourself," Judge Everett admonished her. When he announced that she had also been found guilty of the conspiracy to commit murder and solicitation, she continued crying, prompting him to ask the bailiff to escort jurors out of the courtroom. Now, Donna is the 5th person convicted of conspiring to murder Markell, who was embroiled in a bitter custody dispute over his 2 sons with Donna's daughter, Wendy Adelson. Now, following their 2023 13 divorce, Markell refused to allow Wendy to move in with her parents, move away from Tallahassee. So this jury foreperson is speaking out. Now, I do want to make sure that it is verified that she is the actual jury foreperson, but this would be interesting if it can be verified, kind of the insight and what they looked at. I have not looked deeply into the Donna case. I've kind of ignored it because I knew I wouldn't be able to cover it contemporaneously. So I've been just kind of rolling with what I can do every day. Sometimes that's, 4 streams, and sometimes that's mornings with Mo. So it is what it is. We will get to Donna. Believe me, my desire to roast her is epic. We will be there. And I need to practice my Bronx accent again. I don't know why I just, in my head canon, she has a Bronx accent, but she does. In an update to a story I did tell you about last week, I believe, the father who had abducted the children in New Zealand, the children have been found safely. So that is the good part of the story, but they are still going to be dealing with the trauma of being taken away from their parent, being forced to live on the run with their fugitive father, kind of stealing and subsistence living for 4 years. The New Zealand mother, whose 3 children were missing for 4 years after being kidnapped by their fugitive father, is speaking out after the children were found safe on Monday. Now, the father, Tom Phillips, lost his life in a police confrontation on Monday afternoon while he was with one of his children. Now, the other 2 children were found safe by police, again, thank God. But that's still going to be a lot of trauma to see your father lose his life in a police confrontation. That's just a monumental amount of trauma. Now, afterward, the mother of young Ember, Maverick, and Jada shared an emotional statement with Radio New Zealand after she reconnected with her children after 4 years apart. First and foremost, we're deeply relieved that all of our Tamariki, this ordeal has come to an end, the girl's mother cat told the outlet, referring to the Maori word for children. The children have been dearly missed every day for nearly 4 years, and we look forward to welcoming them back home with love and care. The mother continued, at the same time, we are saddened with how events unfolded today. Our hope has always been that the children could be returned in a safe and peaceful way for everyone involved. Now, Kat expressed gratitude to authorities and shared compassion with the local police officer who was reportedly injured during the confrontation with Phillips. Your compassion has sustained us, she said, and Wanao, we are now attempting to work in cooperation with the relevant government agencies to support the safe return and connection with our children. Now, Wanao is a Maori extended family unit, typically encompassing multiple generations. They have endured a long, difficult journey, and we ask for privacy as we help them adjust and integrate into a stable, loving environment. Phillips first went missing with his 3 children in December of 2021 after police said he took off with the children after getting into a dispute with their mother. NBC News reported that he had been living off the grid and did not have legal custody of the children. The outlet reported that the father and his 3 children were believed to have never strayed far from the densely wooded area near their isolated rural New Zealand settlement over the last 4 years, although authorities struggled to track them down. Now, CNN, RNZ, and ABC News Australia reported that Phillips was identified by authorities after receiving a call Monday about a robbery at a farm's goods store in Popoi, in the western Wadako district, which led to the shootout. Now, despite rare sightings of Phillips over the past 4 years, authorities caught him on CCTV security footage just 2 weeks ago during another break-in at a local business alongside one of his children. And that's the story that I brought to you last week. Now, the acting deputy commissioner, Jill Rogers, spoke at the scene of the shootout Monday and told RNZ that the children had been taken into custody and were now receiving support, and that their welfare remains their top priority. This is an emotional development, Rogers told the reporters at the scene. To know the children are safe and now receiving the care that they need after nearly 4 years is an absolute relief. So again, happy that the children are home, but this is just the first step in healing for them, in, reestablishing those bonds. And hopefully the extended community that the family has is really able to support them. But it is nice to have at least a happy ending for the kiddos in some of these stories. Well, this heifer, former University of Kentucky athlete, looks like she was competing in the months prior to her delivery that coincided with the death of her infant and then her arrest. I have seen pictures. I haven't been able to confirm them. I am so tech illiterate. Unless it's published by, a mainstream media source, if it's just something that another creator, and it's not that I'm denigrating other creators. I just know that if something was a fake that the internet created as a news story or something adjacent to news, I wouldn't know it. So I'd rather just give you guys things that other people have verified with their technical magical skills. But I have seen video or photos of her where she does look really pregnant in her little cheerleading uniform. I mean, enough that at least my expert eye noticed it. The former University of Kentucky student athlete Lakin Snelling was seen performing with her school's stunt team months before detectives say they found their newborn infant inside the closet, no longer responsive. Now, Snelling, 21, was taken into custody on August 31st by Lexington Police Department officers who were responding to a call regarding an unresponsive infant, officials said. Police said that the infant was pronounced no longer living at the scene, and adding that Snelling was the infant's mother. Now, an autopsy based on the male infant was inconclusive. The Fayette County Coroner's Office noted that there was extensive microscopic analysis that would need to be done. Again, this could have been a traumatic birth. I am trying to keep legal options, possible, but the fact that she didn't call if this was a dangerous or home birth and try to get as much attention for her baby as possible kind of is ruling that out on a logical standpoint. And while I'm willing to give grace and extend innocence until proven guilty, I'm not willing to suspend my common sense at the freaking door. That being said, the histological looks, the look at all the organs to see if there was a birth defect, all of that, it does take a lot of time to do that, along with any toxicology and, anything else that they need to do. So I expect this story, this trial to really linger, and we might not get any more information beyond this until the case actually goes to trial. Now, Snelling was charged with tampering with physical evidence and concealing the birth of an infant, along with abuse of the corpse. She has pled not guilty. Now, WLEX, and let me see if they've got the photos up, because maybe they have done a bit more. No. Sometimes they will put photos up from the feed-in article. WLEX reported that the newborn. Okay, so this is just going into things. However, it does look like she was visibly pregnant when she was performing. So this was not something that it seems like the coaches, the trainers, people who work, her lift partners, people that work closely with her while she's wearing freaking spandex wouldn't have known. So again, this does add a little bit of sus to the whole thing. Now, we have an extended final form Jesus because, dear Lord, I don't know if Audacity crazy or Mars and Mercury and Pluto are in retrograde or something. I don't know if Sagittarius is in the second moon of the third sun, but we have got a lot of crazy for today. So we need to dive into it because it's an extended final form Jesus sort of day.
The G-Keep Grove, thou glowing shrine of thirst traps, scams, and dollar signs. We chant in tones both grim and low, for virtue fled a long time ago. Kyrie eleison, Christe descendat, final form Jesus return in wrath. With six-pack glistening, sword in hand, he cometh swift to cleanse the land.
If you had, well, Iran-Contra leads to marital bliss, I would go ahead and buy a Powerball ticket because honest to goodness, that has never been on my bingo card. And if you've guessed that, then also could you tell me where all of my missing forks and spoons are? Because I don't know where they go, but they go somewhere in my house. Oliver North and his former secretary, Fawn Hall, reportedly married in secret last month, 40 years after their leading roles in the infamous Iran-Contra affair. A copy of the couple's marriage license was obtained by journalist Michael Iskoff and shows North 81 and Hall 65 were married in Arlington County, Virginia on August 27th. It was a secret marriage, a friend of the newlywed told Iskoff. Is it secret if you tell a journalist that it's a secret? I mean, I don't pretend. I feel like George Carlin half the time. Can we all agree on the language that we agreed on? This is English. Can we all agree that definitions matter? Now, North is a retired Marine Corps lieutenant colonel and a member of the former President Ronald Reagan's National Security Council, when in the late 1980s he was accused of facilitating illegal weapons sales to Iran. Now, the scheme was aimed at encouraging Iran-backed militants in Lebanon to release American hostages, while proceeds from the arms sale were diverted to support Contra rebels in Nicaragua, which is kind of prohibited under the Boland Amendment. Hall, North's glamorous secretary at, the Security Council, was granted immunity by prosecutors investigating the case, as she revealed that she had destroyed or altered or hidden evidence implicating North and others in illegal activity. I mean, yeah, somehow I wouldn't think that, testifying against your romantic partner would lead to marriage, but I'd need about 40 years to get over the whole, bitterness thing. North was convicted of 3 felony charges related to the Iran-Contra scandal in 1989, although his convictions were overturned on an appeal in 1991, and the case against him was dropped after it was determined that prosecutors had used testimony he provided to Congress under immunity in that case. Now, after the scandal, Hall worked as a model in Hollywood, California, where she married Danny Sugarman, manager of the rock band The Doors, in 1993. Hall was married to Sugarman until his death in 2005. Meanwhile, North went on to found the Freedom Alliance, a nonprofit for wounded veterans, author several books, and host War Stories with Oliver North on Fox News from 2001 to 2016. He also served as the president of the NRA in 2018. So there you go, Iran-Contra to marital bliss. Who knew? Who'd have guessed? And interesting. Also, check that, Revelations book. Make sure we aren't there. Well, I have no idea. This headline just made me click on it. Dwayne Johnson says that his weight loss is for a new acting role where he plays a 70-year-old man whose best friend is a chicken. I either have not had the gummies required to understand this headline, or I am too sober to understand this headline. Either way, I am sober and I don't understand this headline. Having earned raves for bulking up to play the wrestler Mark Kerr in his MMA fighting prime for the Smashing Machine, Dwayne Johnson is about to undertake another radical transformation. He currently is shedding pounds to portray a whimsical, eccentric 70-something-year-old called Chicken Man in Lizard Music. This is not a fever dream. This is reality. The film, which will reunite Johnson with Smashing Machine director Benny Safdie, is an acting challenge that The Rock jumped to play at. Benny pitched this to me after, Johnson said during a career retrospective talk at the Toronto Film Festival on Monday, where Smashing Machine will screen. After about 45 minutes, this pitch ended and I said, "I'm your chicken man." Now, Johnson has shed more than 30 pounds of muscle that he packed on as car and still looked like he could bench press a Humvee. "I still have a long way to go," he acknowledged. "I was so excited to get a chance to hopefully transform again, like I was able to do in Smashing Machine. It means eating less chicken." Now, the film is an adaptation of a Daniel Pinkwater novel and tells the story of a septuagenarian whose best friend is a 70-year-old chicken. Okie dokie. There you go. So he's eating less chicken so he can befriend a chicken while pretending to be an old man whose best friend is an old chicken. Makes perfect sense. Asks no questions. If you smell burnt toast, be careful. Well, it's a bold strategy, y'all. But this OnlyFans actress, model, whatever you call an OnlyFans practitioner, is offering $100K to anyone who can find her a husband. I'm willing to do the work. I'm a very weird person. Cupid just got a serious upgrade and a possible paycheck. "I'll pay you 100K to get me married, or 300K to arrange an impregnation deal." I fear for my boys. What the hell is wrong with women anymore? Or people? So there you go. If you can recommend me a guy and I end up marrying him, I'll pay you 100K, wrote OnlyFans star Alia on her Substack last month, sending the internet into a frenzy. At 33 and living in the Bay Area, she admitted she is no ordinary dater. I'm a very weird person. It hasn't been hard to find people to date or men willing to marry me, but people I want to marry is a vanishingly small group. Now, her checklist for Mr. Right is unconventional, so take down your, get your pen out because we all need, look, I got 6 kids to put through college. I'm gonna be on the lookout. I go to Walmart often. I can figure this out. All right. I'd like a man who's fully committed to polyamory with space for a primary partner and with ominous sexuality. Ominous or omnious? I don't even know what that means, but I don't think that's a good idea. Who's similarly wealthy enough to me in tier that I don't have to financially support him, who wants kids and is fully self-accepting. You want a dog. A dog will love you no matter what. Like if you're a good partner, a bad partner, a good wife, a crap wife, a dog will love you if you treat it nice. You want a dog or a beanie baby. Try a Hatchimal or one of those Tamagotchis before you try marriage, sweetie. In plain English, he is a rare, rich-ish, kinky, and ready for commitment. Bonus points for brains, politics, age, and BMI. But she's already confessed that she's pushing her luck. She's also picky about status. Here's how the bounty works. You recommend a candidate, and she hasn't already considered. You make sure you're first. Fill out her Date Me survey. Mess around with the rules or lie on the survey, that's an automatic breakup. She doesn't mess around when money and romance mix. 100,000 isn't trivial for me net worth wise, but I imagine I'm already happily married in the future and you ask me, would you have paid 100,000 to meet your husband? I imagine I would say yes without hesitation. And if 100,000 isn't enough, she's adding, more to the prospective pot. Or you can find someone to pay me $1 million post-tax to impregnate me and raise his child, sole custody, single mother, the deal goes through, I pay you 300K. Oh, sweetheart, I'm gonna pray for you. But once, that wall hits and you start finding wrinkles and gray hair, you're gonna realize that all of those things that you really think are important, like being tall, aren't as important as someone who will hold you when everything else starts to fade, who still thinks you look pretty when you've had a rough day or you're having a bad pain day, still tries to, hey, I mean, Mr. Mo does try to molder on bad pain days. It doesn't always work out for him, but he still makes the effort. And that's worth more than 100K, but good luck on your LinkedIn marriage. Ugh. Also, are you still going to be working as a OnlyFans proprietor when you're having this rando kid? And finally, in final form, Jesus. And the pastor that says he's coming back this month. Oh, wait, we've got one more after Jesus, which is not something I thought I would say regularly on a regular basis. But a pastor says that a vision told him that Jesus will return to earth this month. I wouldn't say rack up your credit card, but, forewarned is forearmed. One pastor's viral vision has believers walking on water in anticipation. A South African pastor recently claimed that Jesus would be returning on September 23rd, with the Feast of Trumpets ringing in Rapture and Judgment Day. Now, in the viral video on YouTube, Pastor Joshua Mahala claims that he saw Jesus in a divine vision returning to earth during this year's Rosh Hashanah, a date that some Christians are already linking to the prophecy. The rapture is upon us, whether you're ready or not, he said in a sit-down interview with Chesnotzi TV. I saw Jesus sitting on his throne, and I could hear him very loudly saying, I am coming soon, he said to me on the 23rd or 24th of September 2025. So Jesus has a 2-day window. Just throwing that out there. Things happen even in Jesus's life. Chaos. Beneath the YouTube video, many commenters also seem convinced that the pastor was onto something. My 10-year-old daughter dreamt of the rapture recently, one user wrote, while another added, wow, I can read people and Joshua is 100% telling the truth. As your unlicensed spiritual guru, and your Hot Mess Express, spiritual advisor who honestly tells you not to trust any of my advice, I'm gonna say take all of this with a grain of salt. And again, don't run up, payday loans. So there you go. Just, forewarned is forearmed. The 23rd or 24th, rapture. That being said, I would continue paying bills and not stopping paying taxes. But, you know, that's just my advice. Well, that's a headline I never thought I'd read out loud, but okie dokie. An 80-year-old woman was scammed online by a fake astronaut who claimed to be stuck in space. Yes, yes, that is actually a headline in a story. And under all the humor, it is repulsive that people do prey on the elderly, on, the people that are maybe losing touch with reality to steal money from them. An 80-year-old Japanese woman ended up spending about 1 million yen or $6,700 online to a scammer who was posing as an astronaut stuck in space in need of money to buy oxygen. Such a douche move. Also hilariously funny, but such a douche move. Hailing from Japan's northern Hokkaido island, the hapless octogenarian reportedly met the scammer on social media in July. Now, the scammer claimed to be a male astronaut on a mission in outer space, and the woman apparently believed him. After earning the trust of the victim, the scammer told them that they were in space on a spaceship right now, but they were under attack and needed oxygen. Now, obviously, the only way that the 80-year-old woman could send money to a bank account, or the only way that the money could be sent was to a bank account, so that the astronaut could buy more oxygen and survive the space battle. Local media outlet Hokkaido Broadcasting reported that the elderly woman lives alone and started to develop feelings for the fake astronaut as their conversations progressed. So when they asked her for money, she was more than willing to help despite the absurdity of the claims. She was instructed to deposit money using a prepaid system at 5 different stores between July and August, and she only told her family about it when she started realizing that something might be off in his story. After discussing it with family, the woman reported the bizarre case to the police, and she was told that this is a common type of online romance scam, and that getting her money back was virtually impossible. Police decided to make the woman's case public as a warning to other vulnerable people who might be targeted by scammers at some point. If a person you met on social media ever demands cash from you, please be suspicious of the possibility of a scam and report it to police, officials said. As strange as it sounds, this type of astronaut scam is not unheard of in Japan. Back in 2022, and we wrote about another elderly woman who paid $30,000 to a scammer posing as an astronaut stuck in space so he could return home to Earth. Again, this is a douchey trash bag move. Don't do this. The premise is hilarious, but the reality is just cruel and mean. That being said, if it wasn't an older person and it was just an idiot, I don't know how I'd feel about that. So I'm not sure where my goodness level is. I'm guessing somewhere on Stitch, in the middle of the Lilo and Stitch movie. So my goodness is trying to show out, but my evilness outranks it sometimes. Well, we've got a full lineup in our Lord Chippy, calling out, naming monsters, naming names. CrimeCon is bringing the biggest names out, which shouldn't be a big thing, but actually is we're getting all the heavy hitters and the big names out. So let's get into Lord Chippy.
They're our skin, they steal our grace. These monsters wear a human face. No gavel, no badge, no throne, no crown can stop Lord Chippy from burning them down. Justice ain't fast, justice ain't clean. It's a long, sharp road through the in-between. So raise your fists and light your flame.
Oh, this heifer, this remarkable mega thunder cow, hatchet face herself, had to talk to her oldest son because he was going to CrimeCon. How narcissistic can you be? N Lori, no one cares. Well, I mean, I do because I want to roast the hell out of you, but no one is motivated by goodness to hear the sound of your voice. We kind of use it for spite motivation. My new self-help book, How to Use Spite to Energize Your World. Child unaliver Lori Vallow sent a cryptic message from prison to her only surviving son during CrimeCon. Now, Lori Vallow, the Idaho woman convicted in the red room of two of her children and conspiring to murder several others as part of what she claimed was a grand religious prophecy, sent a message to her only surviving child. Colby Ryan, an adult, appeared at a panel at CrimeCon at 2025 in Denver on Friday, September the 5th. Now, the panel was hosted by journalist Nate Eaton, and during the conversation, Eaton said that Vallow had found out about the panel and sent him a message to share with her son. If you talk to Colby, please tell him that I love him very much, no matter what, Lori said in her message read by Eaton per a clip he shared on X and Instagram. Ew. She continued, ask him about the Bible verse, Matthew 25. Eaton said he looked up the verse and told the audience that it was a reference to the parable of the wheat and the tares, parable of the 10 virgins, I believe. Any idea what the scripture reference means? He asked Ryan. Ryan completely was kind of befuddled, but replied that the message was simply an attempt for his mother to appear godly or spiritual or scriptural. She's trying to talk about the wicked and good being sifted apart, basically. So it's her way of trying to say that she's still good, basically godly, Ryan explained. Which, if anyone's going to be able to translate, crazy Lori into human, it's going to be Colby. It's her trying to talk about the... Eaton then asked Ryan if he had a desire to talk to his mother again, to which he said no. In 2023, Vallow was convicted of the 2019 murders of her two children, 6-year-old Joshua Jackson, or JJ Vallow, and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. She was sentenced to life in prison, and then her husband, Chad Daybell, was also convicted of murder in relation to their deaths. Now, at one point, Vallow allegedly told a friend that both Tylee and JJ were zombies, and she and Daybell were on a mission to eradicate zombies before the second coming of Jesus. So we all know this stuff. Again, the incredible manipulation that she continues to try to perpetrate in her surviving victims' lives is just ridiculous. This isn't about her anymore. It's about the victims of her crimes getting peace, getting justice, and getting whatever closure they can get on earth, because nothing is ever going to heal these wounds completely. But if she could just crawl into a hole and be quiet, that would be awesome. This story, I have not even delved into this, but this looks like it's going to be an incredibly interesting case. A creepy California serial killer allegedly wore a white face mask during a prior burglary spree to hide his identity as, being African American. Which, I mean, this is forward thinking. An alleged serial killer who met his victims on dating apps before savagely robbing them and taking their lives had a lengthy California crime history that included wearing a face mask to hide his identity, according to authorities. Now, prosecutors charged 34-year-old Rakeem Perel on Monday for robbing and killing two men he met on dating apps in 2021 and 2023. He allegedly also attacked a victim in February of this year, tying him up, beating him with a baseball bat, and stealing his wallet. Okay, but serial implies 3 with a cooling off period and a distinct signature. So are there more that we don't know about? Now, Prowl of Inglewood is already on probation for 2 burglary convictions between 2019 and 2021, but police say he was linked to as many as 30 break-ins across Los Angeles. Now, the criminal attempted to avoid detection during the spree by sporting a creepy rubber mask that made him look like a young white person, according to security footage reported by Fox 11. Cops found the mask after pulling Prowl over in a car linked to the crimes. Now, it's unclear whether Prowl wore the mask during his alleged seductions and robberies when he murdered 51-year-old Miguel Angel King and 53-year-old Robert Gutierrez in 2021 and 2023, respectively, before fleeing the scene in their cars. Now, King was found dumped in the Angeles National Forest with a fatal bullet wound. Authorities never located Gutierrez's body, but the car that he owned was discovered in Prowl's garage. The creep allegedly tied up and tortured the man, Jordan Andrews. He was the third man in February of this year, beating him with a baseball bat. Now, Andrews managed to escape, but Prowl rammed him with a car as the victim tried to flee away, breaking his leg. Imagine the terror and horror that these victims felt, being duped into believing they were meeting for one reason, only to face violence, LA District Attorney Nathaniel Hochman said in a release. Prowl now faces 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder, plus carjacking, burglary, assault with a deadly weapon, and he is being held on a $2 million bail. I don't foresee him receiving bail, especially with a history of escalating violence, but it's California. Well, be nice to your bartender, especially when he has Manson lamps. A bartender at a club that's called Grumpy's allegedly stabbed a patron 10 times in the head and back in a fight over the bar tab. Art imitating life? I don't know. A grumpy Florida bartender was arrested after allegedly stabbing a patron nearly a dozen times in the head and back while making rude comments about the victim's mother all over a bar tab. Not your mama jokes, too. Is there no dignity? Cops responded to Grumpy's underground bar in Orlando last Sunday after Jason Wilfredo Rosario, 30, allegedly knifed a patron 10 times in his back, neck, and, well, head, basically, all over his head, over a bar tab that was taken outside, according to an arrest affidavit obtained by the Post. Now, the victim told police that the argument began in the bar where Rosario charged him for drinks that had not been served. Now, though a bar manager tried to iron out the situation, Rosario allegedly began berating the victim and told him, "You can suck my, well, peen," several times. The face-tatted bartender then made an offensive comment about the victim's dead mother. Okay, it's even worse if she's passed away and you know that. Rosario walked away from the customer, but eventually returned to him and asked if they could take the altercation outside. Once they were outside, the two continued to verbally fight. Rosario said something about the victim's mother sucking potty appendages. Then the victim punched Rosario and he fell into the ground. They began fighting before Rosario allegedly pulled out a knife and started slashing and stabbing at the victim in the back. The incident occurred so quickly that the man didn't realize he was being stabbed. After the assault, Rosario declared, "I got him," and the victims told the cops. The police were flagged to the scene by a woman who realized that, this man was bleeding profusely and said that there had been a stabbing or an altercation. Now, the victim was taken to the hospital and his current condition is not known, though officers noted in an affidavit that he did not die of the wounds. While officers were investigating the incident, the bar owner told cops that Saucy stabbed someone and it's not okay. She later identified Rosario as the suspect, whom she knew as the nickname Jock Hip Hop, and described him as a hothead. Now, Rosario was positively identified by the victim in a lineup. Authorities obtained an arrest warrant for him and cuffed him on Friday on attempted second-degree murder charges. He is being held in Orange County Jail and without bond. This guy looks like the Truman Show guy, but This is why I profile everyone in Walmart, allegedly in Minecraft. Manipulative and charismatic, the killer known for befriending others has been arrested for a 67-year-old's death inside a townhome after the body was discovered inside. A manipulative and charismatic homeless man in Arizona known for befriending others has been arrested for taking the life, allegedly, of a 67-year-old man inside his Scottsdale's townhome. Matthew Deringer, 35, is accused of killing Frank Quaranta, who lived in a residence off of 68th Street, in what cops are calling a targeted attack that was uncovered Monday during a welfare check after Frank failed to show up for work. Now, Matthew is a Colorado native who was convicted in 2020 of beating and dismembering his roommate's 2 dogs. Why the hell is he out? Why is he out of prison? Why is he not on Snake Island? He received credit for 705 days being served after being given an 18-month prison sentence before relocating to Arizona. He has a history of homelessness and has been described as manipulative and charismatic, often befriending others to assist him with a place to stay, SPD officials said in a Friday press release, while searching for Matthew, who was arrested on Saturday. Now, if he's seen, use caution and don't approach. Call 911 immediately. Police say that Frank was killed last Monday, September the 1st, inside his home. It is unclear how he and, Matthew met. A welfare call came into Scottsdale PD around 1:30 p.m. on September the 1st, when the victim didn't report to work. Responding officers were unable to contact the victim by any other way and forced entry inside the residence to check on Frank. Tragically, Frank was found deceased inside. Detectives and crime scene specialists spent the next several hours processing the home for evidence. Now, court records show that Frank has had multiple run-ins with the law in both Arizona and Colorado, with a recent guilty plea being entered for theft in April and assault charges stemming from a June 2024 incident. He also has prior arrests for criminal mischief and burglary. Now, in 2020, he unalived and dismembered 2 dogs belonging to a roommate of his in Teller County, Colorado, with cops entering their residence to find the walls just covered in evidence and blood, multiple holes, just awful, according to local affiliate KRDO. The scene we went into was difficult, Trixie Hudspeth, Teller County Sheriff's Office Animal Control Officer, said in a statement to the outlet. Now, according to KRDO, neighbors reported hearing yelling and seeing Matthew in an enraged mental state on the night before authorities arrived at the home. He later pled guilty to felony aggravated animal cruelty, and he was being held without bond over the weekend for Frank's death. So this sounds incredibly scary, especially if he is manipulative and able to get into vulnerable, kind people's homes. Hopefully they can, if they can find all the evidence they need to build a very strong case. And in bravery beyond measure, a brave victim hands out tissues during his mother's tearful testimony of the horrors he faced as a gross, disgusting human dumpster piece of trash, human PDF, file principal is sentenced for child grossness. A courageous young boy took it upon himself to comfort the audience brought to tears by his mother's testimony of the horrors he faced at the hands of his school principal during the creep's sentencing on a laundry list of child grossness charges. David Preston George, 41, finally received his long-awaited punishment on Monday after he pled guilty to transportation of a minor from North Dakota to South Dakota with plans to engage in abuse with a child under the age of 12 in October 2022. Now, George had ample access to would-be victims as the former principal of Independence Elementary School in Fargo, North Dakota. The disgraced educator also admitted to possessing and distributing child grossness material, including 224 images and 378 videos of disgusting content that law enforcement found on his devices. At least one photo of a not clothed child was taken by the perpetrator himself and included in the just pile of disgusting. North Dakota U.S. District Court Judge Peter Welt was appalled by George's depravity and almost reluctant to hand down only a 40-year sentence, which was part of a binding plea deal signed by the prosecutors and George's defense team. What can I say? What I can say is that life would be sufficient. According to the outlet, that is what he said. Now, one of the young victims and his family appeared at the final hearing to speak against George and finally give him a piece of their mind. The young boy took the stand and said he stayed silent out of fear that George would hurt him or hurt his loved ones. I lost my childhood and my innocence because of David's grossness, the boy said. His mother also delivered a speech so impassioned that it brought many members of the audience to tears. The selfless boy started shuffling around the gallery, handing out tissues to those in need. Nobody budged, though, when George started crying during the tail end of his sentencing. I hurt the ones I love the most. Douche canoe of grossness lamented as he rambled on about how his actions cost him everything. The victim's mother was not having any of his crocodile tears. Even though the court gives you a sentence, it's nothing compared to the life sentence you gave my kids, the mother said coldly. George frequently tried to pivot blame off himself during the lengthy case, pointing the finger at anyone from his own neighbors to his own children. Now, by the time George is finally released, he will be in his late 70s. Yeah, Bon voyage, douchebag, drop the soap. Like, Gen Pup justice cannot come allegedly quickly enough. But there we go, Lord Chippy, because, why not? Well, I've never seen that. I mean, who has? Well, in a heartwarming and what in the Walmart rapture story, a drunken raccoon's life was saved by a nurse performing CPR after nearly drowning in moonshine. Yes, please tell me they named it like Drunky the Raccoon. This dumpster diving raccoon got trashed. When Kentucky nurse Misty Combs was heading into work at Letcher County Health Department in Whitesburg, she didn't expect one of her patients that day to be a wild animal. I've had some pretty crazy days on the job, but nothing like this, Combs told local news outlet Lex 18. Combs and her coworker reportedly heard a ruckus happening near a dumpster in the parking lot and noticed a panicked raccoon attempting to rescue two of her pups trapped inside. Our health department is right beside Kentucky Mist Moonshine, a distillery, and they'd put some of their fermented peaches in the dumpster, and I guess the baby raccoons had gotten in the dumpster and they were stuck, the longtime nurse explained. The RN's motherly instinct kicked in, and she knew she had to get the babies out of the dumpster. I saw that mama, and she was trying so hard to get her babies back, she didn't know what to do, Combs told the outlet. She grabbed a shovel and scooped up the first baby raccoon, who ran to its mother, but the second baby raccoon was face down in the bottom of the dumpster, which was filled with water and moonshine-soaked peaches. Combs grabbed the raccoon by the tail, pulled it to safely, and realized that it was unresponsive. Everyone around me was like, it's dead, it's not breathing, it had drowned, it's full of water, and you could feel the water immediately, so I started doing CPR. In a now viral video, let's see if I can... Okay, I'm just trying to get to the viral video because local news... So she did start to see him shallowly breathing, and animal control got over. Uh, that was the now viral video. So you can see her, kind of flipping the raccoon on its back, rubbing its back to try to stimulate breathing. Combs admits she'd never performed CPR on an animal before in her 21 years of nursing, but she told Lex 18 that she did what she could in the moment to try to save a life. The raccoon eventually began breathing, but Combs was a little reluctant. The entire time I was afraid it would come to and eat me up. Raccoons carry rabies, so I was afraid of that. Before the raccoon could react poorly to the human intervention, Fish and Wildlife responded and took the animal to a local veterinarian who administered fluid and got the raccoon sober, as you do. Just another day in the Midwest, drunken raccoons. I was going to say crackoons, but now that's a cryptid I would like to see. Combs and her coworkers named the guy Otis Campbell after the town drunk character from Andy Griffith, played by Hal Smith. The raccoon was later returned to the parking lot of the health department, where Combs led Otis back into the wild. So there you go, a happier story. And, just for legal clarification, calling your boss phallus head is not enough to get you fired, a judge has ruled. So there you go. If you call your boss a, schmeckle head, it is apparently not a fireable offense according to the law. Cursing out the brass might seem like a justifiably fireable offense. However, a UK supervisor was just awarded $40,000 after a court ruled that she was wrongly canned for labeling her boss a dickhead. Although her comments were inappropriate and regrettable, they did not justify summary dismissal, declared Judge Sonia Boyles at a tribunal, the Daily Mail has reported. Since 2018, Carrie Herbert, who had reportedly worked at a scaffolding and brickwork company, Main Group Services, alongside her brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Thomas and Anna Swanwell, also served as operation manager and managing director, respectively, reported. Now her duties at the Northampton-based gig, which reportedly paid her over $50,000 a year, including supervising the office's day-to-day operations, overseeing payroll, and arranging meetings and filling in for other administrators. However, one day in May 2022, while Herbert was rummaging through one of the manager's drawers to complete an admin task, she discovered documents pertaining to the cost of employing her. The supervisor told the tribunal this discovery was extremely upsetting, and she believed she was going to be terminated. The overseer was subsequently invited to a meeting where her boss, Thomas Swanell, reprimanded her over her performance and said that he and his wife were not happy with how she ran the office, claiming that suppliers weren't getting paid on time and that problems were happening in their booking. Now, she reportedly began to cry and proceeded to lay into her employer, saying if anyone else was in this position, they would have walked years ago due to the goings-on in the office. It's only because of you two dickheads that I stayed. Yeah, again, maybe at your performance, not calling your boss a phallus could be helpful. According to her testimony, Thomas reportedly responded with, "Don't call me an effing D-head or my wife. That's it. You're sacked. Pack your kit and F off." When Herbert asked if he had really given her the boot, the irate boss responded, "Yes, I have. Now F off." The ex-supervisor later told the court that her, dickhead comment had been made in jest and later sued the firm for unfair dismissal. And while the company claimed that she'd been canned for poor performance, Boyles ruled in her favor, claiming that the firm had not acted reasonably in all circumstances in treating her conduct with sufficient reason to dismiss her. The court was informed that under her contract's terms, she could be sacked over the provocative use of insulting or abusive language, but only if she was given a written warning first. So if you haven't gotten a written warning, I guess it's a bold strategy. I wouldn't recommend it, but it is legally okay to call your employer a butthead. or worse. But there you go. I'm glad that it's been legally, codified, at least in the UK. Well, in a romantic story, but count me out because no. A couple goes on their first deep sea dive and returns to the surface engaged. A young diver surprised his girlfriend with a breathtaking underwater proposal in the Black Sea. Donnie, 21, from someplace in Russia, pulled off a perfectly timed underwater proposal to his long-term girlfriend, Nastya, 21, while diving off the Cape of Tangerhut in Crimea, a peninsula in Eastern Europe. I apologize to Russia for all the mispronunciation, but I don't know Cyrillic, so give me a break. This was the first ever dive for the couple, and it sure was one for the books. While underwater, Nastya explored the rocky seafloor, and suddenly she noticed a bottle of champagne wedged between some rocks. Her curiosity got the best of her. She tried to free the bottle, but as soon as she turned around, she was stunned to find her boyfriend floating in front of her, holding open a ring box. The moment of pure emotion and surprise, she reached out her hand and he slipped the ring onto her finger. As you do underwater, it's like finding Nemo. Happier ending, I really, really hope. Like, no joke, I hope they have a happier ending than Nemo and his wife. Talk about experiencing an underwater surprise. The newly engaged couple then swam off hand in hand, sealing the moment with a sweet underwater embrace. The couple began dating 3 years ago and has traveled to Crimea for work during the summer season. Their shared love for the sea inspired them to dream of settling near the coast one day. Some couples are getting engaged in really weird ways, and other Gen Zers are jumping on the quiet proposal trend. Quiet proposing is a new trend where engagements are kept intimate and private without public displays or widespread announcements, focusing on personal low-key moments for the couple. I like that. I like that idea. In addition to keeping things low-key, many women are also deliberately accompanying their boyfriends to the jewelry store to help pick out their own engagement rings. More couples want to choose a ring that reflects a shift towards more intentional collaborative proposal processes. Collaborative proposal processes sounds like something you do in the Matrix. Not going in, and buying a ring. In our final story, because we need another cute, story. And if I were ever to stay up, past 9 p.m. or midnight on non-insomnia days, I would totally love to own a drive-through, or not a drive-through, a drive-in. Well, same difference. I'd love to own a drive-through too. Pennsylvania couple purchases the world's oldest drive-in theater. In a romance and adventure worthy of the big screen, a Pennsylvania couple is preserving the past and forging ahead in a future as owners of the world's oldest operating drive-in movie theater. Lauren McChesney got more than admission to a double feature when she handed her ticket to Matt at a different drive-in he managed in 2018. They started dating a year later in August and got engaged. In between, they purchased Shankweiler's Drive-In Theater, which was Pennsylvania's first drive-in and the nation's second when it opened in 1934. The couple began brainstorming about drive-ins during a cross-country road trip that included stops at both operational and abandoned theaters. Their original goal was to open a new drive-in, but when they learned Shankweiler's might get sold to developers, the light bulb went off, McClanahan said. Why are we spending so much time trying to build one when there's literally one down the road from our house that's for sale and like the most important drive-in, he said. The drive-in movie theater industry began in Camden, New Jersey in 1933 and peaked in the late 1950s with more than 4,000 drive-ins, according to the United Drive-In Theater Association. Numbers dropped rapidly in the 1970s and 80s as other entertainment options increased, along with land values that made selling for redevelopment attractive. Though popular during the pandemic, by 2024, there were only 283 left, according to the association. McClanahan, 35, who grew up going to Shankweiler's, had managed another drive-in and started a mobile movie business during the pandemic. In contrast, McChesney, 41, had never been into a drive-in before 2018. She left a stable corporate job in healthcare to take on this new venture. Buying Shankweiler's was high risk for both of them. They pooled their savings and secured a $1 million loan to buy the drive-in in 2022 when they said that has paid off. Well, that's good. This was an undertaking that was leaps and bounds bigger than anything I'd ever done in my life in terms of investment, monthly expenses, and debt. It feels surreal when I think about it. They've built a successful business with the help of strong summer attendance and the occasional big-name film like Wicked, and special events like Valentine's Day date night screenings of the Notebooks. Ugh. The drive-in is open 7 days a week from Memorial Day to Labor Day and Thursdays through Sundays the rest of the year. So I'm glad this is working out for them. And I know kids love it. They love this kind of stuff. So I hope that it works out for them and they have a lot of fun. And, they eventually got married and made their dreams happen. And that is an everyday miracle that doesn't always happen. But if you can find couples and people that do that and inspire you to try to do that, that's pretty cool. So, party on, both of you, and have fun at your drive-in. I will see you guys at 10 o'clock. We are going to dive back into the Christopher Wolfenberger case. We will be continuing to do notes and figure out what in the heck the state was thinking when they brought this case, because I am in awe that this even made it to trial. And well, kind of sad that, Melissa will never get a chance to get real justice on Earth because of all this. On an interesting note, finally, like 6 months later, now, the bad thing is I finally got the Go Screw Yourself Sideways with a Cactus t-shirt, but I ordered it when so I'm going to see if I can shrink it, because the logo should be right about boobular area, but since I got it at a bigger size, it's not. But I finally got my merch. Teespring, we have questions as to why it took like 6 months to get this. But I will be wearing this probably tomorrow. I am going to see if I can shrink it just a little bit, but it seems to be fine. I just don't know why it took so long. To be fair, I am still learning all the merch stuff and the good merch stuff and where to get it all done and how to even do it. So this is a learning process. So thank you for giving me grace while I try to figure out, merch ideas and graphical stuff and all that magical stuff. So thank you for sharing your time with me, for sharing my, weird obsession with the news and hanging out with me in the morning. Don't forget that the Petty Express rides at 10 a.m. and I will see you there. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire, because kindness doesn't equal doormat. Bye, you guys.